All right, so we're here. I'm here with Mike Flores. We're doing top eight commentary for the biggest pre-modern tournament of all time, LobsterCon from 2 weeks ago. Let's get right to it. We're doing the top eight match between Rich Shay on his beautiful Parfait Oath deck versus Jordan. What's his last name? Goodwin, I think.
His last name is Jordan Goodwin. You are
Jordan
correct.
Goodwin, I nailed it. Who was on? He actually knocked me out of the tournament in the penultimate round on his Green White Enchantress deck. We talked.
Green, white, and red, Mano.
There's red in it?
There
Okay.
is.
So then let's get down to it. I just said literally 30 seconds ago, I'm not exactly sure who should win this match. You were very confident. What do you think? How should this play out?
I don't know how Jordan could win a game, let alone a match. I think Rich could mulligan to one and would still win, no matter how good Jordan's hand was. So Jordan's deck operates only one way. He has to have Enchantress's presence or Enchantress in play, or his deck doesn't really function, right? Like it just doesn't do anything. It's a
Yep.
bunch of elephant grass. Ooh, elephant grass. Yeah, like okay, so he has to have that he's turning those things into kind of a fair engine. Uh, but like Rich has Oath of Druids, so I mean, unless Jordan wants to get into a shooting fight between Oath of Druids and Argothian Enchantress early, which I don't think that he wants to do, he's reduced to Enchantress's presence. So we're now in a fight between four Enchantress's presence against two Aura of Silence and Seal of Cleansing, plus Rich's insane sort of Cunning Wish package in his sideboard, which is all kinds of Ray of Revelation and Abolish. Like, and just the fact that if Rich
Jesus.
just plays Aura of Silence on turn 3 or whatever, or turn 2, he's playing a Mox Diamond deck.
Yeah.
Jordan's deck is just becomes incredibly slow, but that's actually not even the worst of it. Like, so what I've described is a situation where Jordan's deck doesn't function, but that's actually not the worst of it. Jordan can only beat you three ways. One way is by deck exhaustioning you with a card like Solitary Confinement. Good luck with that. And then the other two ways are one Sacred Mesa and one Words of War. Rich has four Oath of Druids against one Sacred Mesa, even if you put aside the fact that he can Cunning Wish for Ray of Revelation, he has Abolish, he has all kinds of Aura of Silence and Seal of Cleansing. Put all that aside. You're still talking about 1/1 flyers with an upkeep cost against Oath of Druids, which has no upkeep cost, and makes 7/7 lifelink tramplers or Triskelions. And separately, Words of War versus Ivory Tower. Good
Yeah.
luck on that one.
Right.
Right?
And
Like
just random life gains, Zern Orb as well.
I
I just
I
wasn't sure how quickly the Enchantress deck could spin out of control.
so
But I think it takes a while. And if Rich
it's
gets a while, it won't be close.
it
So
just doesn't
yeah.
matter though. Like I literally think Rich could mulligan into one and win the game.
Well,
So
like
the like what's Jordan gonna do? His deck needs to put out a bunch of lands, right, in order to do his thing, because he has to do stuff like upkeep Sacred Mesa in order to win, or like have a bunch. There's like lands in place so that he can enchant things, or enchant the lands, enchant, put out Elephant Grass or whatever he's putting out to just draw cards. Like Rich could just like have Armageddon. It doesn't even have to be a good Armageddon. Just like Armageddon Mox or Armageddon land tax, and he will set Jordan behind like 7 turns. Like just doing that. His deck will function at 100% efficiency. Rich will be 7 turns behind. It's just among the most lopsided matchups in all of pre-modern, I think.
okay. I think you're being a smidge hyperbolic, but I do agree. After he's definitely favored. Just the fact you also didn't mention all those things he has, the two Aura of Silences and the Seal of Cleansing, and by the way, he has four Enlightened Tutors to get all those. So he has
Yeah.
that stuff plus Cunning Wish for Ray of Revelation alone might be enough outside of anything else we've talked about. So
I actually don't think I'm being hyperbolic. Maybe like winning on a mulligan to one consistently is a little
so
hyperbolic.
then so then
But
what's the
explain to me
probability
how
that Rich
Jordan can win.
what's the
How can
probability
he
that
win?
Rich wins this match? What's his
Well, we
percentage?
we know who won the match.
No, but like in general, if you were to play this matchup, what kind of odds? What kind of
Oh,
odds would be to get paid?
well above 80%.
Okay,
Like not even close, right? So what's like 90% times 90, like 81%, right? Like
yeah,
it's over 80%. Like
okay.
to the point that I don't like Jordan's sideboard cards all stink, right? Like he can't even improve. Like if you look at his sideboard, like what's he gonna do? Bring in another Karmic Justice? Like, all right,
Right.
I'll take a 1 for 2 on that one. My entire deck is like every card in Rich's deck is a 3 for 1. Like
Yeah,
that's really the problem. Like
yeah.
actually, how about this, Mano? What if Rich just goes like Propaganda Armageddon? right?
Yeah.
Like half of Jordan's he only has 2 ways to win. Neither of them function if he gets Armageddon. Like one of them really doesn't function if he gets Armageddon.
Yeah. I mean, he can build back up, but I mean, by then Rich will just be completely
So
doing his thing. Yeah.
the idea that Jordan can build back up is actually, I think, a little hyperbolic.
You think
Jordan's
so?
deck, yeah, Jordan has no recursion in his deck outside of replenish. If he gets Armageddon, those lands are gone.
I
Like
guess
he,
all those wild growths, those are all gone.
yeah, like he's in trouble if he gets one Armageddon is catastrophic for him.
Yeah.
His deck needs like more than 4 lands in play to operate at any kind of a reasonable clip.
Right.
And
Because
like
just to win the game, he can't just do something like in more modern Enchantress decks do. They just like cast Emrakul or whatever. He's not building up to one turn. He's not just playing Sarah Sanctum, adding 25 mana to his pool and winning on the spot. He's slowly doing that over X
so
turns, right? So it's a
the
totally different animal.
the big problem here is that Jordan's deck is like a definitive glass cannon in that there's some matchups like if you're playing against a mono red beatdown deck, like or a black red beatdown deck to hit a little closer to home, there's just 1 or 2 things that he can do and the opponent can't interact with him at all. And even if it takes him a long time to win, the game is already over.
Right.
Right. So if he's playing against mono red, he's just all right, here's solitary confinement. My guys have shroud or hexproof or whatever, or they're an enchantment. You can't kill them. I'm going to de facto draw multiple cards a turn. You can't damage me. And at some point in the future, I'm going to win. But we both know you're not going to win. Right.
Right. So
And
the
like
game is over. The game is over even if it's
yeah,
not over.
he
Whereas,
can't even forget Squee, right? Like that's the thing. That's how bad it is, right? So, but the problem is if he's actually called to win the game against Parfait Oath, right? Like he can't. His
Right.
like every road that his deck wants to go down is actually shut down by 3 different cards in Rich's deck. And
Right.
besides the fact that every card in Rich's deck is a 3-for-1 anyway.
Right.
Like,
In addition to all the very simple paths to victory by a la, like you said, playing a turn 2 Aura of Silence or playing a turn 3 Armageddon or whatever. Those are not very hard hoops to jump through. And that's just the level 1 ways to win. So there's a million things stacked up against him. So I agree. I'm on board with your prognosis. You want to see how it plays out?
yeah,
Let's see.
absolutely. Let's
Let's get
talk
to
about it even.
Yeah. All right. We're up. Game 1 is starting. I don't even know who's on the play here. Rich Shay on Oath versus Jordan Goodwin on Enchantress. Looks like Jordan's on the play. He leads Forest into Exploration into Brushland. Pretty good start.
I assume that Jordan would be on the play. Wasn't he first out of the Swiss? And
Oh, you're right. Because Rich
snuck in from the bottom.
he actually snuck in because Olarade drew or did not draw when he could have. He did his math wrong. If he drew, Rich Shay does not make top 8. So thank you, Ole, for letting us see this deck in action.
So I have a question for you, Mano. Why is it called Parfait? What does Parfait mean?
I asked Rich the same thing. It's basically a deck. So what is a parfait, right? It's like a custard, like a vanilla yogurt based thing with like various layers of fruit and granola and whatever. So basically what it is a base white deck with sprinklings and smatterings of other colors and flavors in the deck. That's where it comes from.
That's clever.
Yeah.
Right. So Rich has Oath of Druids in play, it looks like. Quick Oath of Druids off of a Mox Diamond. And what's is that Enchantress's presence on Jordan's side?
I actually can't see it, but he tapped 3 mana, so I assume that it is indeed Enchantress's presence.
Did he just play an Argothian Enchantress into the Oath of Druids?
No. I think he has Exploration in play.
Okay.
And then he played for turn 1 Exploration, turn 2 Enchantress's presence. So he's okay.
All right. Now there's 3 lands on Jordan's side versus 1 land and 1 Mox Diamond on Rich's side. Rich has just resolved the card land tax. And if Jordan doesn't do something about this, the game is going to be over, although it will take a long time. This is going to be over on the next turn. One player will draw 3 cards, and the other player will not be able to play any of his spells.
Well, Jordan has some card draw potential. So Jordan lays land. He's not scared at all. Plays Windswept Heath.
Well, I mean, I don't know. He's pot committed, right?
Oh, he also already is behind a land, so
Yeah.
tax is going off no matter what. So it's irrelevant. Yeah.
I'm just saying you can't let somebody tax twice. You're done. 0 casting cost Ancestral Recall.
Yeah, every turn.
Every turn.
Yeah, seems fair. Yeah, land tax is finally getting its chance to shine. It's been hanging out in old school and pre-modern for forever, literally, and it just hasn't done a whole lot. and of late it's crushing in both formats. It's really it's found its groove. What's actually happening here? Are you delayed?
I'm not delayed. I don't.
What's happening on your screen?
Nothing. It's not moving.
Did he just play Windswept Heath and then think better about it? Okay, no.
Okay, something just happened. I don't know what permanent that is.
I think it's Sterling Grove.
Andrew, can you make the screen bigger for us in any way?
Or slide it over. We care less about the lands. If we see the tops of the lands, that's fine. Versus.
But can you just make like can you expand your screen so that the visible area for us in the whereby window is bigger?
You can probably hear my dog, my stupid dog in the background. Yeah, this is really, I'm seeing it really delayed.
Oh, this is much better.
Yeah, this is better. I agree, but I'm still just on like a huge delay. Like I blinked and all of a sudden Rich said go with an island in play, presumably having taxed, and now it's back to Jordan's turn. So it seems like, we like Jordan can't play the land tax game, right? It's just not possible. He already has.
It's too late. He's already behind two, right?
Even if he wanted to do it, he couldn't play the land. His deck won't function. So he has to just let Rich do his land tax thing. He's doing a little something on his own, though. He has 2 presences out and a Sterling Grove, and he's going to start doing some things as well. The problem is all of his things are trumped by Rich's thing.
I agree that Jordan has put permanence in play, but from my perspective, what's going to end up happening is Jordan's going deeper and deeper in terms of permanence in play, and that's just going to make the eventual Armageddon that much more devastating. He's not blue. He can't stop Rich from casting the Armageddon. And doesn't all right, like what does he have? Like an exploration, which allows him to play even more permanence, a Sterling Grove, which is just hanging out so that Rich isn't destroying Enchantress's presence. Whatever. Like none of these things matter.
Like if Rich doesn't get his Geddon, though, if Geddon he only has 2. If they're just hiding out, I know he's scroll racking, or he's likely going to start tax scroll racking and digging and doing all of those things. But if he doesn't get his Geddon, can't Jordan just actually just do his thing, make a million dudes and attack?
Jordan only has 3 ways to win, right?
And one of them is irrelevant.
One of them is solitary confinement.
Right.
Okay, that's not going to beat Rich.
Actually,
literally not going to matter. Okay.
Yes.
The other 2 are Words of War and Sacred Mesa. I do not see, like, it's just not going to make 100 Sacred Mesa guys and kill Rich before that oath goes off the first time. Remember,
but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if the oath just goes off once. If he can actually add 25 mana to his pool via Sarah Sanctum and make 12 dudes, like that could be. So outside of Armageddon, if he doesn't get in, I'm saying Jordan has slightly more than a puncher's chance. That's all I'm saying.
So, like, I think the problem is that, okay, I mean, I guess if he has Sarah Sanctum, then he can make a lot of dudes, presuming Rich also doesn't have an Aura of Silence or Seal of Cleansing or Abolish or Ray of Revelation, all of which he can access in game 1 for the one Sacred Mesa. But assuming that's the case, Rich still just can kill 3 plus Pegasus every turn with an oath, right? I mean, like Neshoba's kind of versus Pegasus. It erases Pegasus fine.
To me, Sarah Sanctum is what gives him the chance. He's not going to just play 6 lands and 2 wild growths and make 3 guys a turn and have anything happen. But if he can actually add 20 mana, then he could win the game. Right?
I buy it. I mean, unless, again, Rich also has Propaganda in his deck. Right? Like, so Propaganda is going to be problematic for that. I mean, Sarah Sanctum, among other things, is a legendary land. It's not like Jordan can have multiple of them in play in order to like use one of them to pump out a bunch of guys and use one to pay for the guys to attack. Right? He can't do both.
Right. It's not an out to Propaganda, that's for sure. Although it could be like whatever. It's better than not having it, but you're right. It would very much slow him down and make a 2-turn clock turn into more like a 6-turn clock.
So it looks like Rich has still only got like a couple of permanent. Oh, what? It looks like Armageddon just happened. Okay.
We're a little choppy here, but we blinked and all of a sudden all the lands are gone. So let's
all
see
the lands are gone.
Let's see how this plays out.
Rich now has a Mox and a Plains versus Jordan having nothing.
Well, he has some enchant. He can catch back up with exploration theoretically.
Yeah, so exploration functions only if he can play 2 lands in 1 turn. So right now it doesn't look like he's playing any lands in 1 turn. And again, those Enchantress' presences are doing nothing without lands to pay for enchantments to draw cards with.
What did we miss? What happened to the Sterling Grove? Did Rich just kill it? Or did he sack it to draw something?
I don't know.
I wonder.
I wish I could tell you.
I know. It's not I mean, it's not super important. And this is, so for what it's worth, this is playing out exactly as you said. Rich can. My only contention was if Rich doesn't actually cast Armageddon, I think Jordan can win a game of Magic.
All right, so let's look at the current game state. Jordan has a land, right? It's a good land, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
And Rich has an Aura of Silence. That means that Elephant Grass costs 3. Just to be clear.
The do nothing cantrip.
The do nothing costs 3.
Yeah.
Right? Like I just thought that as soon as that land tax worked the first time against a deck as slow as Jordan's deck, the game was basically over, but it would take a long time to win because Rich's deck isn't fast unless you let him oath. Right? If you let him oath, then he'll kill you really quickly sometimes, right?
Right.
But if you don't let him oath, he's basic.
Dude, this is how he wins the game. If he doesn't win via oath, he wins via Guy's Blessing Recursion.
Yeah,
that's the way he wins. So,
I mean, doesn't he claim that he wins with Zer's Weirding Lock?
Yeah, but that's just the path to Blessing Recursion, right?
Yeah, so
you can if you bottom Blessing off of Zer's Weirding, it still triggers. So he's going to either get it or.
Are there currently 2 land taxes in play?
There's 2 land taxes, 2 oaths, Zur and Orb. Yes, and Jordan has 3 permanents in play, which is exactly how you said it would play out. It's almost as if you've seen this before.
I actually didn't watch the match. I was spoilers. I was playing a match in the opposite bracket while this match was going on.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Right.
So
yeah, I remember. All right. So yes, he's activating 2 land taxes right now. He will then scroll rack them all away, draw 6 cards, and then he will land tax 6 more lands the next turn.
Yeah. So just that Mox Diamond is such a breaker in this situation. Every future Mox Diamond is going to be bought and paid for with 0 mana and one of these free lands from land tax. The fact that there's scroll rack in play is ridiculous. It's like essentially some kind of a stroke of genius every turn. Yeah. And Zurin Orb means that, I mean, not only is Zurin Orb like a shield for his life total, but it's also going to make it so that, oh, there's a second Mox Diamond. Just make it so Rich has kind of a
nombo. That's kind of a nombo though, because Rich doesn't want to actually play any lands, so he's never going to get to gain a lot of life off Zurin Orb.
No, it's good because he can just always put himself 1 land behind.
Right? No. I know. It was a bad joke.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, this is whatever. Rich is drawing actual, not even just BS 6 basics per turn. He's drawing 6 fresh cards per turn at this point. So this is over. This reminds me of in the top 8 of an old school event I was playing against Randy, and he had a similar tax tower Sylvan engine online. He had multiple Sylvans, and he just paid 12 every turn and just drew 7 cards every turn against me. Needless to say, it did not go well. But it's a very similar feeling to this. I'm sure Jordan does not feel good about a situation.
If you're in Jordan's seats, you just pack it. There's no path to victory here.
Well, the deck lists aren't public, so we can learn more about Rich's deck. That's the only thing, I think, right? So I'm sure that's what he's doing. Like Jordan, or he said, oh, what did Rich say? He said that at some point, I don't know which match it was, but one of his opponents had a chance to go for decking, but assumed that he probably played Gaia's Blessings and didn't go for it. I don't know what it is. So there's something to be gained from learning more about your opponent's deck, right? You don't really know what Rich's win con is if you're in Jordan's shoes. It could be anything.
Rich casting Enlightened Tutor. Is that the card that he just cast?
Yeah, for a second Aura of Silence. Seems fair.
Oh, there's a Tormod's Crypt in play also. I mean, like, this is, yeah, okay. I think he conceded to either the second Aura of Silence or the Tormod's Crypt. Either one of them would have been bad.
Right.
Mano, do you think Argothian Enchantress is good after sideboarding? Like he knows in a sideboarded game that Rich has got Oath of Druids? Is that even a good card?
I think I mean, the problem is I don't exactly know what he has to bring in. It is definitely not a good card, but it might be worth it just to like try to shoot the moon if Rich doesn't have an oath in those situations. If he has good cards to bring in, sure, whatever, cut
So
him. But
these are the viable cards, I would say, that are in Jordan's sideboard. Humility. Right?
okay.
Humility is a card.
Yeah,
Turns off Triskelion. He
it's
has
not much of a card.
no, it's not good.
Yeah,
But it's a card. It has text. Karmic Justice. I think that's one of the cards that Rich actually has
read
to
that
worry
one out
about.
for the listeners at home. What does that one do?
So Karmic Justice is a 3 casting cost enchantment. It costs white and 2. And whenever a spell or ability an opponent controls destroys a non-creature permanent you control, so that could be a land or an enchantment or something else you got, you may destroy target permanent that opponent controls. So that can like mess up somebody who's getting you with a lot of permanents for Armageddon, for example.
Yeah, okay.
That card
That's
has text.
pretty good response to Armageddon, right? Blow up your whole board
So
too.
there's 2 Seal of Cleansing in Jordan's sideboard. I think those cards they're pretty good.
Those do something.
So I think Sacred Ground is terrible. Right. So there's 1 Sacred Ground in his sideboard, and this is like the same reason we were talking about cards like Defense Grid, Sacred Ground. When you're playing one of these enchantment or artifact based decks, every single one of your opponents, Aura of Silence, Seal, Cleansing, Abolish, anything that they have access to is going to be in their deck, or in Rich's case, readily available from Cunning Wish package. I think it's just a non-card. It's just like, all right, so Rich will actually have to fire off his Aura of Silence or Seal Cleansing before casting the Armageddon.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it's just not good. I guess
It's
a
not
good.
good. I like it. It is similar to your Defense Grid argument, but I will say here it's a little different because obviously all of Rich's enchantment removal is stretched insanely thin because his entire deck is enchantments.
That's fair.
It's not a situation where I randomly have 8 enchantments and so all of your disenchants are bomb. Like it's a little bit of a different algo than that.
I think that you have to side it in. It's like it has text.
You have to side it in, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
What's in his deck that's terrible? Like what comes out? Like the Enchantresses are fairly terrible. Are there worse cards than that though?
Solitary
Elephant
Confinement
Grass doesn't do much.
Elephant Grass is not good. Solitary Confinement's terrible. Worship is terrible. So the actual terrible cards are Worship.
Like Elephant Grass is unreal bad, right? It does literally.
It's a 1 casting cost cycling spell.
Sure, but it doesn't even cycle very often because you're probably off your Enchantresses, so it's not good.
I don't think I would keep Argothian Enchantress in. It doesn't seem very good to me.
Yeah.
I would side out maybe 4 Argothian Enchantress, 1 Worship, and 4 Elephant Grass. So is that 9 cards? And 1 Solitary Confinement, 10 cards. You can bring in Humility, Karmic Justice, 2 Seal of Cleansing is 4, Sacred Ground is 5, Ground Seal is at least a cantrip, 6. You get to leave 4 of those cards that I said.
What are those 2 green cards at the top of the sideboard?
Multani's Presence. That card has no text in this matchup. It's an enchantment which says whenever a spell you play is countered, draw a card. Which is not going to counter very many of.
Right. So you're gonna have to keep. Let's just real quick get to the bottom of it. What are those 4 cards? He only has 6 just cards that he even halfway wants to bring in that have anything resembling relevant text. He has 10 fairly atrocious main deck cards. What are the 4 that you keep in? Do you keep the Enchantresses just to try to Mise, or
I think Enchantress is not good. Elephant Grass is absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
So I guess we're gonna go with not good.
Yeah.
The other 6 can come out.
Right. Like you said, if Rich double or like quadruple mulligans, like you said in the preview thing, a mulligan to 1, obviously he has a shot there. But if Rich has a kind of a slower, crappier draw and without an oath, he could just ride an Enchantress. It's possible and it's risky, but it is possible at least.
So what's Rich got? I think if I'm Rich, I'm siding out Swords to Plowshares. That card has almost no text. You can Swords to Plowshares a Pegasus token. You don't really want to do that though, right?
Yeah.
So I would side out 4 Swords to Plowshares, Ivory Tower 5. Let me look here. Those 5 are not good, and like Propaganda's not great, but I mean it's fine in this matchup.
He probably thinks it's. What are the stock Enchantress lists win cons? What are they? What does your father's Enchantress deck win with in Premodern? Do you even know? Is it Sacred Mesa?
It's Sacred Mesa or Woods of War, I think.
Okay.
So he's going to bring in Duress, Aura of Silence. So Aura of Silence is an enchantment artifact removal card that you can't get with Cunning Wish. but you can get with Enlightened Tutor, so he's definitely bring that in. So
Easily bring that in.
Duress, Aura of Silence.
I think he's probably going to keep that Abolish. You think he keeps it in his sideboard so he can Cunning Wish for it? Or...
I think I would leave it in my sideboard.
I think so too.
I think maybe he brings in Engineered Plague. He has a lot of cards to take out. Yeah. Engineered Plague's actually pretty good. You can name Pegasus. Yeah. And if you could name Enchantress, it's not that bad. Like if
it's a hedge if he keeps in his Enchantresses.
But it's always good against Pegasus. So I think that's only 3 cards I would want to bring. You know what? He could bring in Circle Protection Red. As terrible as that is, there's only 2 win cons that really matter in Jordan's deck, and Circle Protection Red shuts one of them off real good, right? Like Words of War is like basically discard a card to deal 2. Circle Protection Red is tap a mana to stop Words of War. I'm in with Circle Protection Red. So Circle Protection Red, Engineered Plague, and
Aura of Silence.
Aura of Silence and Duress. So that's Duress. 4. So Rich has more cards that he wants to take out than he can take out as well. But the difference here is he's so far ahead.
I mean, he could just leave in the Tower or whatever, right? Like there's cards like.
I think Tower's fine. I think he could like just leave in. Yeah.
What do you think about? So I assume if we're leaving Abolish on the board, we're leaving Ray of Revelation on the board.
Oh yeah, for sure. I wouldn't bring in Instance.
Yeah.
There's no reason to.
Okay, so that pretty much sums it up. Rich has an okay. His deck gets marginally better. A few things he's swapping out. It definitely isn't a slight improvement. Jordan's deck, I don't know. I guess it technically gets better, but it's splitting hairs. There's not a lot going on. I mean,
if Rich is just like -4 Swords of Plowshares, +1 Circle Protection Red, +1 Engineered Plague, +1 Aura of Silence, +1 Duress, that's a huge improvement.
Yeah, I guess it is. It's better than marginal. You're right.
Yeah, like every one of those swords has 0 text, and you're trading them in for cards that have text, and in some cases are. I mean, if there's Engineered Plague and Circle Protection Red in play at the same time, and Rich has access to 1 Replenish and 2 Gaia's Blessing, that is bad time for Jordan actually being able to win the game.
What if Jordan Tranquilities, though? That would clear the whole board.
It would. Also of Jordan's permanents. He only has permanents that are bad against Tranquility.
I don't think the Enchantress deck usually sideboards Tranquility. Right?
No one would see it coming, dude.
Right, exactly.
Like the Spanish Inquisition.
Okay, let's go on. Let's move on to game 2. I mean, there's not a lot to say. It's really freaking good. Yeah. We talk a lot about Zer's weirding. On the pod, which I haven't released yet. But honestly, Rich said if Zer's weirding wasn't a card, he doesn't think he could play this deck, which is saying a lot.
Oh, that seems silly to me.
It's a little aggressive, but like, let's listen to what he has to say about it. It does everything for him. No, because Andrew, Mike, you probably don't know this, but Andrew is famous for playing mono Enchantresses, all flavors, but all he plays is various versions of Enchantress. And so Rich got a lot of games in against Andrew, so he probably knew a lot about what to do in this matchup. He was not flying blind here. He had a lot of testing. Game 2, we think we know how they sideboarded. We will see if that actually plays out. But we're off to the races. Rich destroyed in game 1, so Jordan will be on the play in game 2.
Is that a giant lobster on Jordan's playmat?
It is. Dave got those made for the first LobsterCon. He actually got who did the illustration for Rock Hydra. I should know who this is, but he got him to actually redo this as a rock lobster. He redid Rock Hydra in the spirit of LobsterCon as a rock lobster. That's what that is.
Well, I like that Jordan is repping the brand.
Yeah.
Rich is playing a different legendary land from Urza's Saga than the one that's actually in his deck. I think he's just trying to throw his opponents off. I think Tolarian Academy there is.
You think that would be a good card in Premodern? Tolarian Academy? You think that would do anything?
No, I mean they banned Grim Monolith and Mana Vault, so probably not.
Probably not, right? It seems safe.
Probably not.
Yeah. So
somebody asked me a question recently. What do you even tinker for? That was I don't know, Phyrexian Devourer kill combo, and they're like,
that's like the only thing though. If it's not an actual kill
what's
combo,
that? The next question was what's that?
But like 3 years ago, that deck didn't exist 3 years ago. That's actually a new thing. And so 3 years ago, there was nothing to tinker for. It was like actual Phyrexian Colossus. That was like the best thing.
I
or
mean, you could
processor.
get a Mishra's Helix, lock your opponent down
Right, you
pretty
could do
good.
that sort of stuff, sure.
All right. Well, speaking of locking your opponent down pretty good,
Yeah.
there's an Undiscovered Paradise and a Mox Diamond on one side that have powered up a land tax. This is not good for the player on the other side who has a bunch of land in play. So I think that Jordan either has to quickly deal with the land tax, or it's going to be a repeat of game one where one player is drawing 4 cards a turn, and it's not the player who has cards that say every time you play an enchantment, draw an extra card.
It's funny that a single land tax in this case is just more powerful than this entire Enchantress engine. You know, it's unreal.
Is that a
Is there a
seal of
world?
cleansing?
Yeah, that's a seal cleansing. I wonder. Okay, so he did get the tax. Okay,
And that's great for Jordan. He can keep playing Magic the Gathering.
yeah.
Tormod's Crypt. 2 mana is tapped for. There's not like an aura in play, is there?
No. So that's what is that? Karmic Justice? That's in play now for Jordan.
So he's got a lot of interplay going on, Mano.
Yeah, there's things happening here. He just has to dodge. He just has to dodge Armageddon, right? He got rid of the tax. He didn't get a single taxed off. He has Karma. Actually, Armageddon now, like he can't really get in, right? That's kind of a you have to kill this
Well,
before
actually,
you get it.
you could just manage your permanent count, right? So they
Oh,
karmic
Rick's good.
justice you. So you just what if you just don't have very many other permanents in play? Just doesn't get you that bad.
Yeah, but I mean, if Rich doesn't have a lot of permanents in play, he's gonna just lose all of his Mox diamonds. Like his whole deck relies on those Mox diamonds, right? So I don't know.
So I think we could agree at least at this point. This is an unenthusiastic draw for Rich. He's got a Tormod's Crypt, which has relatively little text at this point in the game. A Scroll Rack with no land tax or Sylvan Library powering it up, and then he's
I
kind of
don't,
like semi-locked himself with an Undiscovered Paradise, which
dude,
is
but
just
but
not
I don't
good.
know. He drew tax and diamond and scroll rack, right? I mean, what more could he really ask for?
Not getting one of them destroyed. Also, there's
I
still a seal
guess,
cleansing in
but
play on the other side of the table, right? So Jordan can he can seal a cleansing the next tax that happens. So
yeah.
that would be powerful.
Let's see what he does with this. Is he going to get greedy and like kill a Mox or this rack, or really save it for?
So I think that not destroying the Mox or not destroying the rack is actually a sign of great discipline on Jordan's part,
Yeah,
right?
I
Like
agree.
his deck doesn't win fast, right? If you are a less disciplined player, you might just be like, "Oh, I'm going to kill his engine piece," or "I'm going to just set him behind as a 2-for-1," because obviously you're investing a card, you're investing an extra land every time you do a Mox Diamond.
Yeah,
So just one for oneing in quotes, the Mox Diamond with the Seal of Cleansing is card advantage, right?
sure.
So, but I think by not doing that, he's showing a great
I
deal
played
of
I played against Jordan
discipline.
in the second to last round. He knows what's up. Like he's not the kind of person. You see a lot of players in a lot of these formats just this is not the same thing obviously, but just disenchant your first Mox. Seal your I'm talking about actual old school, right? Disenchant your Mox Pearl, Seal of Cleansing, whatever, your first Mana Rock. And I think it's way, way overdone in most of these formats. And Jordan is a man with discipline. So it's showing right now.
That's a really interesting point. Back in, I want to say 2004, we made this green white deck. Brian Kibler used it to lead the Swiss at US Nationals that year. The top decks, one of them was Affinity, and that the green white deck had Oxidize. And early on in testing, we realized that the games that you were losing, you were trying to be 1-mana stone raining people. We're like,
Yeah.
it's really exciting, right? Like, kill your Vault of Whispers for 1 mana. Like, that's a powerful play. That play usually costs 3 mana, but no, you're just way better off saving it for their Skull Clamp or their
For something
Arclight
that actually
Ravager.
matters. And that kind of thing happens so that's what happens in old school. Oh, I killed your Mox, and on turn 4, you play a Jame Day Tome and you lose. Like, I've seen it a million times. And I'm impressed that Jordan is. I'm not impressed because I expected it given the way he played against me, but it's nice to see him not take the bait here.
Unreal that Jame Day Tome is kind of a pivotal card in the format still.
It's broken. Borderline restrictable.
Really? Is that good?
I mean, the deck is the best deck, right? So it would take the deck. The deck doesn't really exist very well without Jame Day Tome, so you would knock the deck back down to, tier 1.5 instead of tier 0.8. That's all.
All right. So back at this
Yeah. On this
top 8 game at hand, Rich is up to 4 mana with a Plains and 2 Undiscovered Paradise. Jordan, on paper, it looks like Jordan's way ahead. He has a bazillion permanents in play.
Do you see what Rich just cast?
What did Rich just cast?
It's a blue enchantment.
Oh my god, is that Zer's Weirding?
It sure is. So Zer's Weirding, so I talked to Rich and he said that Zer's Weirding obviously is great. It does everything he wants him to do, but it's a little risky in that occasionally he can sort of not lock himself, but he can really hurt himself if his opponent has stuff in hand that he can't really deal with because he'll never be able to draw an answer. That's why duress is so important. He plays his turn 25 duress to know the coast is clear. Then he plays
one duress.
His one duress. Then he plays his Zer's Weirding, and that's that. So here he's playing a naked Zer's Weirding. He did not wait till he drew his one duress. So
your interview with Rich earlier this week, Rich claimed that he would not have played this deck if Zer's Weirding were not available.
I mean,
but it is not a popular card in Parfait Oath, right?
I don't think so. I don't think anyone plays it. Yeah. His deck was different though. Like the Parfait Oath decks that exist in the world, like play 1.5 Oath of Druids. They're very different animals. His deck was different.
Oh, his setup is definitely correct. I mean, I just looked at it the first time and I'm like, he just covers half of the metagame with 8 cards.
Dude, wait till you hear the synergies that we talk about on the thing. The way that he leverages certain parts of his deck against other decks that they wouldn't normally be good at via combinations of cards. Just it's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing.
Am I going to be a better Magic the Gathering player by listening to your upcoming episode of All Things?
I became a much better Magic the Gathering player.
Is it going to be like when Olarade listened to the first interview that you did with me and then he learned how to play his deck?
I think it might be even more powerful than that, honestly.
I as you know, I'm buying my 4th Mox Diamond because I think that Rich's deck is the sweetest deck to play.
It is. Should we be talking like what's actually like you said, Jordan is going off here on paper. He's got it all.
Yeah, he's got stuff. But none of this stuff actually wins.
Doesn't do a lot.
He's just got like some explorations.
Like just look at this game state. Jordan has like 15 permanents in play and Rich has 4. And it's still pretty close.
Well, the problem is Jordan doesn't win with any of these things. That's really the thing. Right? Is that humility? Is that one of the permanents that
might be a confinement. I don't know what that's still doing.
There's no way it's a confinement.
I think it looks like
you think it is.
It looks like it.
Why would you put confinement and play against this battlefield? There's no damage sources.
What else does he have? Doesn't he have? He has 2. Oh no, he doesn't have any. He has 1 Enchantress presence, right? So okay. Maybe you wanted to.
Yeah, but you wouldn't play confinement there, would you? It's just gonna. I mean, unless you were just planning to let it go away, you're using it to cycle.
Cycle, right? That's what I'm. Yeah.
I guess he's just not planning to pay for the confinement.
Right. It could just be a cycle because he knows the card's dead, and maybe he kept, like we said, he had a lot of marginal cards around the edges. He just kept that as one of them because it cycles. Well, I probably would rather cycle Elephant Grass, but.
Agree. What is this on Rich's side? That looks like a good card.
The white-bordered one?
Yep.
Yeah, it seems
it's a land tax, right?
Seems decent, yeah.
If that doesn't go anywhere, I think this game is gonna.
It's really
be reversed pretty quickly.
Matchup.
The advantage bar will move.
Yes, I always talk about the advantage bar when I do commentary. I would give my left nut for an advantage bar that I could control and move around. It would be so much fun, I think.
The problem is that Jordan's way ahead on paper, but I wouldn't move the advantage bar in his favor.
right. Okay,
Jordan's up, a lot of stuff. I agree.
He's up by 12 permanents. He's up to 51% to win or whatever. Yeah,
he's up to like 27% to not be destroyed.
This matchup, though, in general, is just an absolute testament to the power of this tax rack, and it's just insane. It's really insane how and Mox Diamond really is the third piece, albeit a little less important. Good. But like Jesus Christ.
Let's take a moment to talk about the basic lands on each player's side of the table. So
yeah,
Rich's got revised.
Gross. Who would do that?
I like revised. I like revised if they're the only cards in your deck that you're searching, right? So he's got land tax, or if you've got like if you've got like flooded strand, windswept heath cards like that. I'm a big fan of white bordered revised. Obviously, Jordan's got some sort of blinged out like German 5th edition or something over there.
Yeah, I think it's just 4 and black bordered, like 4th or whatever, revised, something like that. Nice, and I think in general people prefer that aesthetic in pre-modern over cards like over like betas or alphas, right? Because betas don't really fit in with the rest of the format aesthetically, whereas these 4 and black borders slide right in and look gorgeous next to all the other borders.
I like them a lot. I think that they have like a very beautiful, crisp printing to them.
Mhm.
I think that the problem is getting like as many as you want, like in matching set. I don't know if that matters to everybody.
It doesn't matter. Like these days, if you want it, it's there. You can find them. It's not like the old days where like everybody had 2 random 4 and black bordered forests, and you had to like get everybody's. So is Rick? Oh, he's still resolving a scroll rack, I believe. Okay.
So
we'll see what happens. So this is it. This is again way behind on board, way behind permanent wise. But now he has his engine, and Jordan presumably does not have an answer. So we'll see how this snowballs.
Yeah, I mean, if Jordan had an answer, Rich would never have been allowed to pick up his library for the land tax the first time.
Yeah.
Right. Like you would have tried to stop him from drawing 3 extra cards for 0 mana, right?
I imagine you'd probably want to stop your opponent from doing that. Yeah.
And especially if he already has a scroll rack in play, which is de facto turning that 3 extra cards into 5 extra cards. Right. You might want to keep one of the lands. Maybe not. Rich doesn't need the lands. He's just using the lands for manipulation purposes. Is that Sarah Sanctum on Rich's side?
It is, yeah.
What an insult.
Does this remind you to the old PT Rome Academy days where we had to be the first one to play Academy? Rich played his Miser Sanctum to turn off all Jordan's Sanctums. How lucky would that be?
That would be savage, but we play pre-modern under the modern rule set.
We do.
So that wouldn't work that way. So I think Rich's Sarah Sanctum taps for a whopping 1, right?
Yeah, it's a plains. He has 3 basic plains in play.
All right.
Rich also told me that the day before the tournament, like on the drive up, he bought a Sanctum from Mitcha, one of the dealers there, to put in at last second over a City of Traders. And he said it was 100% the right decision, not even close, and it probably got him to where he did in the tournament because he did that. So
he has an unusual land in his deck, Archaeological Dig.
Yeah.
Under what circumstances would you ever want to draw that card?
I mean, it does. It could get you to tax. It also is an extra colored source. He lost to Olerade in the Swiss because he had 2 Pyroclasms in hand that he could not cast. He did not have a red mana, so it's an extra red source in a pinch. It turns on tax in a pinch. All of these are marginal. He said he didn't really like the card much, and he probably would play a basic mountain over it, to be honest.
A basic mountain?
Yeah.
He's a wild man.
Because Pyroclasm is just so important against a couple of decks. Like, he has issues with, again, outside of Armageddon, with any survival anger deck, right? Because Oath doesn't really work. You can just blow your whole load and do it all in one turn with anger in the graveyard, right? So he has issues with that. And Pyroclasm slows the crap out of that deck, right? It just slows it down completely. So it's very important in that matchup specifically, obviously.
Okay, so Rich has completed just his cycle of utilizing his engine.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're at the phase of him thinking about something and then not doing anything before he passes to Jordan, who will probably not pay for his confinement.
Right. All that. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. He has 8 enchantments in play, Jordan, now. So Sanctum would tap for 8. That's 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. That's 18 mana, right? Like if he just went Sanctum Mace's Maker. Yeah, I mean, that might just do it, right? I guess Get In again shuts everything down, but it just all comes down to Get In.
I mean, I don't think he could just play Propaganda with no Get In. It would be annoying for
but Jordan. Like, I'm sure Jordan has like 3-ish Seals of Cleansings, right? He has some out. I guess he already blew on Atlantax, but he has some outs at least. But look at Rich's board. Like, look if he Get-ins now. He gets 9 lands and 3 wild growths versus his 2 lands or whatever,
Well, forget about how many lands Rich loses. That's way less pertinent of information than the fact that he's left with 2 Moxes. Right?
Right. He's already, and then he's way ahead. So he gets a 12 for 2, and he's 2 ahead after that. So count those in the card advantage calculation. All right, so now he adds a Sylvan to the board.
Nice.
What is this card? Is this Orange Chant? What did he just do?
Did you think Rich Orange chanted?
I thought I saw an Orange Chant. I know he plays Orange Chant, but I don't know why.
why he would just play it there.
Yeah.
Maybe he's afraid of the exact scenario that you were describing with Sacred Mesa and then a big burst.
I mean, he has infinity cards, right? He can certainly afford to burn an Orange Chant if he has the fear, right?
Do you like the Cunning Wish portion of Rich's deck, or would you just like unfancify it in order to play some like a less fancy version that was, you know, maybe a more robust sideboard?
The rationale for that was just that he needed a way to activate Oath in in creatureless matchups, but he didn't want to be saddled with a couple of main deck Funeral Pyres. And so he can Cunning Wish for his Miser's Funeral Pyre, and it also opens up a little bit of a toolbox. So that was the impetus for that whole portion of the deck. I'm on board with it. I was surprised to know
that's ingenious,
right? About how much of it was really just about Cunning Wish for Funeral Pyre. Like it wasn't like, oh, let's build a Cunning Wish package and we'll throw a Miser's Pyre. He started with 2 Cunning Wishes for 1 Funeral Pyre and filled it out from there. Which
is absolutely bonkers.
It's insane, right?
It's awesome.
Yeah,
I just floored.
You're already a better Magic player, and I'm only relaying you the things that he told me. So
absolutely awesome. Everybody who heard that is literally now a better Magic player.
Yep.
I can't even believe how awesome that is.
Mm-hmm.
So I was thinking like maybe don't play Cunning Wish because it's kind of cumbersome in this deck, and instead play an Abundance. What do you think about playing an Abundance?
What does Abundance do if you?
It's just best friends with Sylvan Library. If you have Sylvan Library and Abundance, you just draw a lot of cards.
Right, but does he need
you
more
can
of that?
You can replace draws by saying if you want a land or a spell, and then you pick that kind of card up on top.
Right. I remember. Does it? But it doesn't matter. Like it's just a poor man's tax rack, right? So
well, it's a different tax rack, but
right.
Sure.
It's a more expensive. It's fifth tax rack, I guess. But
well, you need both of them in play for it to be
right. And he only has one
valid.
Sylvan. He has literally one Sylvan, so I don't think it's probably not worth it.
All right. So
what's actually happening here?
I think Rich. Maybe he's just showing Jordan how pretty his cards are.
Right. Look, I still have all these.
Yeah. It looks like a Replenish in his hand.
Does. Replenish is not both sides, right? It's just your enchantments?
Just your side, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
It's actually aggressively slightly below average in Rich's deck.
Yeah. It's one of the worst replenishes around.
Yeah, it's like super not that backbreaking. Like some people, we won't name any names. If they cast Replenish, you lose. Right?
Yeah. I'll get my tax back that you killed on turn 1. And, it's
like a mild 2-for-1 that costs me 4 mana.
Yeah.
I mean, one thing I do like about
I guess that's what happened. So he was literally showing me his hand. It's too bad that this was so choppy because it was hard to tell what was actually happening. But it looks like it played out. He didn't even draw the Armageddon that game, although he did have it in his hand. But wait, so why would Jordan concede if he didn't even get Geddon? It looked like Rich was still showing him still had all these, one of which was an Armageddon, yet Jordan still conceded. Why would you concede there?
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe he was hungry. Like, he doesn't have a path to victory, man.
Like, his only path to victory is dodging Geddon. If he dodges Geddon, that could happen.
Like, Rich has, I don't think that Jordan could have plausibly asked for a better opener to game 2 than he got, which was to severely disrupt Rich's engine. Rich was sitting there on a Tormod's Crypt and a Mox Diamond for a bunch of turns, just doing nothing, while Jordan had Enchantress's Presence, Exploration, and 12 land in play, and he still didn't win. Right? It's just...
Dude, he still didn't win, and at the end of the game, he was up by 14 permanents, and he just conceded.
Yeah, it's just, it's among the most lopsided matchups in the pre-modern format.
Okay.
The only one I can think of is that's maybe more lopsided. It would be Green-White Life versus Devourer combo or something. Or Rich's deck against Devourer combo. It seems really lopsided to me.
I mean, it's good. I don't know if it's 90-10 or anything. It's not that.
I mean, a Gaia's Blessing deck against an Altar of Dementia deck.
Oh, I forgot. He has that as well.
That's
you can still get flung though, right? Those decks play flings.
Sure, for sure.
Yeah.
Right. They're not 100% matchups, but you don't want to be on the other side of that matchup. That's what I'm saying.
All right, so that played out pretty much exactly as you said. Rich does a lot, gets up to a lot of shenanigans with his engine and casts Armageddon, and or doesn't cast Armageddon and then just wins the game on turn 10. That's pretty much how both of those games went.
Yeah, like I said, it almost doesn't matter what's going on in any reasonable game. Jordan is a mile behind. He has relatively few ways to actually win the game, all of which are completely dominated by Rich's deck. Like every single way he has to win. Outside of, I think you're right. If he has an unmolested Sacred Mesa plus Sarah Sanctum for like 2 turns, maybe he can do a lot of damage, like Fireball style, but it's still not.
Right. It's not
It's
great.
not
And
doing
that's
it for me.
that's all. Yeah, it's certainly not doing it for me, but that's kind of all he's drawing to, right? It's possible. It's not, and it's way above zero. The chances of that happening is like it's some normal probability on planet Earth.
It's not 0.
Yeah, but it's not even like 1 or 2. It's like a real thing. It could happen. But it's
Yeah,
not
I mean,
20. It's not 20.
but it's also against a deck with main deck Seal of Cleansing, 2 main deck Aura of Silence, sideboard Aura of Silence, and a Cunning Wish package for Abolish and Ray of Revelation, not to mention multiple Armageddons, but sure.
And not
It's
to mention
not
if all that fails, he could still just actually cast propaganda. Right.
It is not 0. I agree.
Yeah.
There are games in nearby universes where he probably won one of them.
Right. I think it's higher than you're giving it credit for, but it's certainly not great, Bob. That's for sure. So I guess this was like arguably the most boring, probably because everybody else who was paying attention chose more interesting matchups to talk about, and we were saddled with this one.
No.
We weren't really.
My top 8 matchup against Flint was the most boring. There's no question.
Oh, actually, that's true. And we didn't.
It was like 3 minutes long and completely lopsided.
There were no decisions, right? Because game 1, he duressed your careful study, and game 2, he played a 12-12 on turn 1, and 2 turns later, you were dead. That was.
Then I was dead. That's correct.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, I guess that's pretty much all we got, right? There's nothing good to glean from this unless you listened to game 2 and learned a lot about, what went into Rich's deck building. That's really
that Funeral Pyre.
Yeah.
I literally feel smarter now that I heard that. I appreciate that you shared that wisdom.
Yeah, it was. I feel I'm not. There's so many things about Rich's deck that I'm not sad, but like jealous that he thought of. You ever get like that? Like, oh man, this fucking guy broke it. And he broke it with a card that's so near and dear to my heart in Zur's Weirding that it's sad's the wrong word, but I'm not super happy about it. That's all.
I mean, there's plenty of things to be innovated in Premodern.
There are.
Like I think when we're playing the North American Premodern Championship a year from now, there's going to be. I mean, Aaron Dix will clearly be there with his mono red deck, but the other 7 decks will be different.
Well, how do you feel about playing another Premodern Championship in Philly in early 2023, like 6 months from now?
I'm there.
You're there, okay? Because that's in the works.
I am there.
Seeds are being planted, and it would probably be live streamed if it happens. So I'll keep you in the loop. Okay.
I can't wait. It's going to be awesome. I will tell you right now, I'll probably have Abeyance in my deck.
Yeah, dude, I bought some Abeyances after.
Yeah, people are like people I don't know are all like Facebook messaging me. They're like, "Thanks for the tip. I bought gold boarded Abeyance before they spike." I don't understand how no one in your format plays Abeyance. It's like the most ridiculous card.
No, but here was the kicker for me. It's on the reserve list. Did you know it was actually on the reserve list?
Yeah. No. I only own 7.
How any reserve list card that's even marginally playable in any format is only $13 or whatever was beside me. So I'm like, well, I'll buy whatever, 10 or something. So I picked up some of the cheapies hanging around TCG and Card Kingdom. I didn't go crazy. I didn't back up the truck. I didn't take out a loan or empty my daughter's college account. I just a couple $100, nothing crazy.
Well, there's going to be Abeyance in my deck, just so you know. It's gonna rock and roll.
All right. Well, then hopefully you can cast those Abeyances in Philly. In the meantime, thank you, Andrew, for doing this. This was really fun, even if the matchup itself was an abomination. But it was a good time, and we appreciate your hard work in this space. Thank you, man.
Everything Mano just said.
All right. Later on. Yep.